Hey everyone, welcome to this Train to Mod video. We're just gonna have a little drive, um, and once we get moving, I'm gonna talk a little bit more about what I think about Train to Mod 4 because I've had a bit more of a think about it, bit more of a think, a bit more research, and I think I've got a fairly good idea of um, of what the um, of what the situation is. So I'll get into that once we get moving, which we will do in a second. So we're just on Castle Versberg. I don't play this route normally, but because it's got LZB, the train will drive itself, so I can just focus on talking. In fact, to that extent, I'll drive even with CIFA turned off. Right, doors closed.
Schließvorgang eingeleitet.
Brake key. Nice. Alright, let's get moving. Bit more power. Yeah, I should turn CIFA on. Will I? Yeah. What's the worst that could happen? 80% power? Are you going to start slipping? No? Okay. Good. There's speed rising. There we go, speed limits up a bit more. What is that, 140? Now the power's getting pulled back a bit. Go 100% power. I think that's alright. Yeah, so that's a bit loud. Yeah, that's better. Train to Mod 4. I think it's coming, and oh, what's that about? What's this about? Why are you having a hissy fit at me? Come on, off you go. I don't know what that was about. What was I saying? Yeah. Train to Mod 4. I have reason to believe that it is a completely new game, not just an update to Train Sim Mod 3. And that's because Dovetail have announced that Train Sim Mod 3 will be removed from the Xbox Game Pass on September the 1st. Now, the original article that claimed Train Sim Mod 4 was coming eventually, that article stated that Train Sim Mod 4 would release sometime in late September. So Train Sim Mod 3 getting pulled a few weeks before that makes sense. It makes sense. And it's exactly what they did for Train Sim Mod 3. When Train Sim Mod 2 was about to come out, they pulled Train Sim Mod 2 off Game Pass about 2 weeks before that released. So, because they're pulling the game down, I suspect that means that Train Sim Mod 4 is coming, and there's a whole new route. And just as a bit of a recap, the evidence for Train Sim World 4. So there's a lack of anything on the roadmap, and the route builders at Dovetail, they must be doing something, right? They can't be doing nothing. It's not like they're just sitting there, quietly waiting for more work to do. They're definitely gonna be doing something. And the majority of the work that's currently in the pipeline is by third parties, but even then, there's not much. Aha. Bit of break. So yeah, there's not. There's nothing really in the pipeline from Dovetail. Well, there's one thing, and that's a German locomotive, but there are no new routes from Dovetail in the pipeline. So the route designers must be doing something, and certainly building routes for a potential Train Sim Mod 4 is something that they could feasibly be doing. On top of that, the Union Workshop, they were announced to be working on content for the franchise, but we have been told nothing about their work. They and Dovetail announced that they were working on something and then said nothing else, and that's a bit suspicious. That leads me to believe that, perhaps there is perhaps they're working on something for Train Sim Mod 4. And then that has me thinking, well, if by the way, Union Workshop make Japanese and Chinese content for Train Sim Classic. I believe they're based in China somewhere. I'm not sure though. So if they're working on stuff, are they trying to get more international partners working on things? Who knows? Who knows? It's just, I'd love to know what the potential routes are. There's certainly lots of room to speculate in that area. There's really nothing that we can speculate on other than potentially highly requested routes, but the most highly requested route is probably another tube line or a subway line or something like that, so really who knows. Another piece of evidence, Dovetail haven't shut this down. You would have expected that if this was a big project, you would expect that Dovetail would have shut it down by now. If it wasn't true. Oh, I didn't have AFB turned on this whole time. Okay. Oopsies. Is this? No, that's break. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, so Dovetail haven't shut this down, and if it wasn't true, I suspect they would have come out and said, look, this is a hoax, don't get your hopes up, because normally they'd do that if someone leaked something that isn't true. And partners haven't said anything about it, but they haven't confirmed it, and that would suggest that if it is true, they'd be waiting for an official release date, which is, what Dovetail do pretty commonly. No ambassadors have discussed any of it, and they potentially might be in non-disclosure agreements with Dovetail that, have them contractually obliged not to tell anything that might relate to the future of the game or unannounced content. I'm not sure. This is purely speculation. Dovetail got a lot more beta testers recently. Now that could just be in response to people whinging about poor quality. When I say people whinging, I'm one of them. and that's a welcome change, but I could also be because they're trying to test a new release, and when this release has come out, they'll let them go. And the website that has released this information that claims Train Sim World 4 is on the horizon. It has also previously leaked games with pretty high accuracy. I believe there was a FIFA game that they leaked, and they got the release date exactly correct. I can't remember. There was some game that or perhaps multiple, that they have previously predicted and leaked the release dates off with immaculate precision. And they're a reasonably large website, and it wouldn't make sense if they were just pranking the train sim community, because it's not very large. They wouldn't get many clicks. No one would read it if it wasn't true, sort of thing. Why would they waste their time making up something to do with train simulation? ICD3. There's my rainbow one. But yeah, there's the website's quite reputable in that case. So that's the evidence so far, and there's really nothing that screams that this won't be happening. And I have quite high confidence that it is actually going ahead, as I said earlier. As a reminder, just really quickly, so the article claims that Train Sim World 4 will release on the 26th of September, and it will be available for pre-order on the 22nd of August, which is just over a month's time. They said it'll cost about €40, which is about they say at least €40, which is at least £30, at least $40 US, and at least $60 Australian dollars. And they said they'll have a multitude of additional content. They also say that the game will include backdated DLC, so if that's true, you will be able, in a similar fashion to Train Sim World 2 and Train Sim World 3, you'll be able to port your previous DLCs from previous titles. What I want to know now is, what are the implications of this? Why are they making a new game? Is it pressure from Focus to get more money? Is it trying to reignite the player base? I'll open up SteamDB on a new tab, because SteamDB, if you look up a game, you can see how many people play it. And Train Sim World, all the Train Sim World games, they generally sort of decline in popularity over time. So this claims that there's sort of a trend of about 1,100 people playing at any given time, which is more or less as high as when it first released. This is for Train Sim World 3. Train Sim World 2, I'm pretty sure, was a bit less. Train Sim World 2. Charts. So the initial trend of Train Sim World 2 was it was about the same actually, if not slightly more. And obviously that's tanked since Train Sim World 3 released. But I want to know what the features are. Like Train Sim World 2 obviously came out with new physics, new way that simulations handled, livery designer, scenario designer, all the new routes, etc. Train Sim World 3 then came out with a new lighting engine, and larger routes, some questionable optimizations. What could Train Sim World 4 be? And if you recall, the Island Line released with the Sparks, and that was very close to the announcement of Train Sim World 3, and then they revealed that Sparks would be a thing in Train Sim World 3. So perhaps, things like the guard mode, which is currently only on the Glossop line, perhaps that will be something that they're going to roll out to all the new routes on Train Sim World 4, not the base routes for Train Sim World 4, whatever they might be, if there are guards that run them. Now, my mind starts going, what could that be? Is it like New York Subway or some other commuter rail in the US? Would certainly be appropriate for that, I reckon. But other new features, there's not much really, and things that people want, like core features that people want, things like multiplayer. I don't think that's very likely. I'm not sure how multiplayer could be handled in a Train Sim World environment. Although it is highly requested, it might become if, for example, maybe Focus have been pressuring Dovetail to get some competition with the likes of SimRail or Railroads Online, both of which have fully functioning multiplayer. I mean, fully functioning might be a stretch, but perhaps they might want to roll out multiplayer for that. Who knows? Perhaps they won't roll out multiplayer at all, which is probably the most likely scenario. On top of that, there's like it's kind of hard to justify moving on, because there's really, I mean, one thing I was reading was sounds. People aren't very happy about any of the sounds in any of the 3 Train Sim World games that we have. Things like running sounds, being thrown around the cab, empty environments that don't really sound realistic, that kind of stuff. That kind of came out of something that could potentially be changed. But I'm really struggling to think, other than a multiplayer and a guards mode that are like the most. I'm not saying I want these, by the way. I don't think they're a priority at all. But those are like the most highly requested things. If they're making a new game, that could be what they're making it for. I really don't understand the reasoning for it. I mean, I'm sure I sort of will, or be able to understand the thinking behind the reasoning for a new game. Because this is why I originally thought that it would be an update, or why I thought it was likely to be an update rather than a whole new game. Because I don't think there's enough to justify a whole new game. And I mean, of course, now that you're just coming, we'll come on to say it's just a cash grab, which I'm really trying hard not to just blatantly accuse it as being one. But I mean, it depends how much it costs and what it comes with. I mean, if it's 3 routes bundled for the price of 1, then that's probably decent. If it comes with some new features as well, I won't complain, depending on how good the routes are, of course, and if I'm interested in them. But if it comes with, I mean, it has to come with routes, because what the route team been doing all this time has to. Because the last route was like Link the Rheinstracker. That was ages ago. And then there was, well, I mean, Glossop Line, but that was piss weak. It's like 30 miles long. It's hard. That's nothing. Who knows? Who knows? It's just. I mean, it's very hard to talk about or to really speculate on anything when you don't have enough information. And take all of this with a grain of salt. There is still a possibility that none of this will happen, and all of this is a hoax. I think that's unlikely at this stage, but it is still certainly a possibility. Anything's possible. I guess personally, I would like to see, should this game eventuate into something, I would like to see more of a focus on the simulation, less of a focus on the sort of gameness of the sim. I would like to see new subway routes, new commuter routes, maybe less of the long, empty, boring freight routes, less of the long, empty, boring high-speed routes. I mean, as you can see from this gameplay, there's really not much going on. You tell it to go forwards and it doesn't. But, I don't know, I mean, multiplayer, I guess I wouldn't complain if that was a thing. Guard mode I don't think I'd ever use ever, because why? Why bother? What I would like to see is guards being simulated, so if you're not meant to open and close doors, or if you're not meant to set up the train's PIS, then why? Why should you? If the guard opens the doors, then the guard should open a virtual guard should open the doors. And that's pretty simple, and I believe it happens in Train Sim Classic sometimes. I think I've seen that once or twice. I mean, I really just, I expect if it's going to cost, if it's a new game and it's going to cost 60 Australian bucks, I want to see a genuine improvement. I want to see evidence that there is enough core updates that it warrants becoming a whole new game. And I'm not sure if I'm going to see that. It's just... Who knows? I probably sound like an idiot just rambling on about unlinked things. And I apologise for that. If you want to see a more sort of concise arrangement of my thoughts, you can go to my blog. That's on the website, which is linked in the description. Go have a look at that. And if you're still watching at this point, thanks. Please stay. I guess if it's... Focus have probably asked Dovetail to do this, I suspect. But other than that, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Luckily, there's not much waiting and there's not much seeing left to do. If the article is correct, which I have much more reason to believe that is the case. As I've said for about 50 trillion time now, I'm sorry about that. But we only have to wait another month, and then all will be revealed. And they might drop teasers up until, I don't know, because they'll probably announce it on, if the article is correct, they'll probably announce the game when they open pre-orders on the 22nd of August. Oh, didn't mean to do that. And then I suspect maybe they'll tease things a little bit early. Not sure. Really, I don't know. I hope they will, so that, because that's only like 4 weeks away. So I hope, perhaps we'll get a bit of a hint into what we're getting. I mean, we'll almost certainly get one German route, one UK route, one American route. But I reckon American route, it's got to be like the New York subway. It has to be by this time. They have a license for the MTA. That's very clear because they've done two other MTA routes, the Long Island Railroad and the Harlem Line. So they have the capability to produce routes in New York. They have the capability to organise things with the MTA. They have the capability to do subway routes to a questionable standard. That's evident from the Bakerloo line. It's been very highly requested. Who knows? Likewise, I think the UK route could be a London Underground route, could be a London Overground route even. That would be cool, hey? And I'm not just saying that because my channel icon is a Class 378. Otherwise, UK route, I'm thinking East Coast Main Line. That is super highly requested. Super highly requested. Or maybe West Coast Main Line. Both from like London to Peterborough, London to, I don't know, is Milton Keynes reasonable? Don't know. And that would provide a reasonable base for trains. You know, New York Subway, you just have one train with the one route. Focuses more on the route. Maybe East Coast Main Line, the focus is on the trains, less so the route. You've got like a 801, the 700 layer, 387 layer, or not layer, repainted 387, and then I don't know, maybe a 717. Who knows? Then I don't know, if there was a West Coast Main Line, you'd have your, what are they, 390, 350, I don't know, Southern something, just with a pantograph slapped to it. And then you'd have the Bakerloo line running AI on the side. And then you could, you know, vice versa for the Bakerloo line. Yeah, I mean, and then German route, really, I have no idea. Probably well, maybe if we're going for a metro style, perhaps an S-Bahn somewhere, or a U-Bahn even. Obviously they have a Deutsche Bahn license, so I doubt that'll be an issue. Doing a U-Bahn, not a U-Bahn, an S-Bahn somewhere. Even Hamburg, the Hamburg S-Bahn, that's the third rail, isn't it? Or is that, that's the S-Bahn? Who knows? But perhaps like a Berlin S-Bahn or a Hamburg S-Bahn or something U-Bahn. I don't know, these are things that I think would be nice, because sure, from time to time I enjoy driving freight trains or high-speed trains, but I'd much rather frequent stopping. That's a challenge, because again, this gameplay really not that riveting, and I chose that deliberately so that I could focus on talking and formulating some kind of vaguely coherent argument rather than focusing on driving. And this route is supremely boring to play, and probably even more supremely watch me play it. I hate it. I despise this route, because it is just tunnel, and then a little bit of daylight, and then another tunnel, and that for half an hour and an hour, and you don't actually touch the controls once. Now, maybe some people like that, maybe some kids like that, maybe that's why they're advertising to them, but I don't think that's really, I don't think we should be building many more of these routes. We've got enough, really, we've got enough, I reckon, enough to do with for now. Focus on other things. Because the things that we like the Bakerloo line, or Salvation High Speed, or things like that, get played out really quickly. And I think it'd be cool if we had routes like that. It's sort of like the Southeastern High Speed is, or Brighton Main Line, where they're very fun to drive, they're very replayable, and by that I mean like there's lots of different trains, lots of different service patterns. Whereas like the Bakerloo line, you just Queen's Park to Elephant Castle, and then Queen's Park to Elephant Castle and back, and then you just keep doing that over and over again, and maybe you might extend it to Stonebridge Park or Harrow and Wealdstone, but it gets a bit repetitive after a while, and you just feel like a robot. And whilst it is a simulator, no one's doing this because they find it boring, right? Because why would you spend money on that if you were finding it boring? You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this because we enjoy it, so make it enjoyable. That's really, I guess, all that I have to offer. I mean, it's too late now. They would have picked their routes, but I hope that they are enjoyable routes, because Train Sim World 3 really didn't provide much. You know, we had a really long but supremely boring freight route that I've played like once or twice. And this, which is supremely boring, really long, and I played it once or twice. And then we've got the Southeastern High Speed, which is a good route, and yeah, it needed an update, but like the bits that they added, really only the Dartford bit was interesting. The Ashford bit, not really that much, because it's just an extra 20 minutes of sitting there doing nothing. I mean, it's more fun than this because you actually have to drive the train, but it's not fantastic. Anyway, I've finished my rant about Train Sim Mod 4. Let's wrap up this service where my perfectly timed rant has taken me to about 1.5 kilometers out of town. Let's pull in. We're coming into Fulda. Believe the end of the platform should be red. You gonna slow down ever? No? Yes? It should. Must. It's the signal at the end. Yeah, signal's red, so it should bring us in. Okay, there's our strong brake. This is a powerful locomotive. I don't fear it won't. And it'll always stop slightly short of the red signal, so I think we'll be well placed on the platform. The ICE does this well. It stops almost exactly at the stop marker by itself. The IC1 struggles a lot. It can't really brake itself on LZB mode. It really struggles. We've got nothing in the brake pipe. That's good. Doing all of this on regen braking. But the as I was saying, the IC1 really struggles at stopping on LZB, and it always overshoots and sends itself into e-brake. Okay, there's a little bit of now the dynamic brakes come off, back on again, off, and we stopped. Perfect stop. See, look at that. Train drives itself. I literally just had to set it up correctly to drive itself, and then don't touch it for half an hour, and then boom, I get like almost perfect score. And I'm a minute early, so I'm going to get a perfect score for timeliness as well. Got a screenshot, so I can put it on the thumbnail. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been a bit unconventional. I hope you've enjoyed it though. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you go check out my blog post on Train Sim Mod 4, and watch my previous video on Train Sim Mod 4 as well. And then, you know, go do your own research, go check out the forums and whatnot. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.